The blessed life, it's not found by escaping your limitations. It's found by accepting them. I spent most of my life wishing that I had been born in Ur. I wanted to be smarter, taller, stronger, better looking. Okay, that last one's not a word, but you get the point. I'm 5'10". Well, at least that's what my driver's license says, so it must be true. I weigh 155 pounds. I have a 32-inch waist. I wish that I were 6 foot tall, weighed 190 pounds, and had a 32-inch waist, and I looked as good as Clint Eastwood in a cowboy hat. Okay, did I just admit that publicly? Well, thank God that He set me free. He showed me the secrets, not realizing that I'm enough. The secret is in realizing that God is enough. See, much of our frustration comes from fighting limits that God never intended for us to overcome. There's a psalm that addresses this quest for more in a way that restores our joy and a peace without being, getting, doing, or even understanding more. We can learn to live within our limitations. This is what David wrote in Psalm 131. Let me read this to you from the New Living Translation. He said, Lord, my heart is not proud or haughty. I don't concern myself with matters too great or too awesome for me to grasp. Instead, he says, I have calmed and quieted myself like a weaned child who no longer cries for its mother's milk. Yes, like a weaned child is my soul within me. And then he closes it out, O Israel, put your hope in the Lord now and always. Now, there are three key takeaways that will deliver you from the frustration of fighting limitations that God never intended for you to overcome. Here's the first. I hope you'll write these down. Number one, accept what it means to be human. David said, I don't concern myself with matters too great or too awesome for me to grasp. Humans, we just don't understand everything. One of the greatest and the brightest minds, Isaac Newton, he devoted much of his life to understanding the prophecies and the predictions of Christ's returns. But even he admits, I can't solve that. Humans can't control everything. I have a client. I hate what happened to him as a teenager, though. He experienced what no kid should ever have to experience. He came home one day and found his entire family belongings out at the curb. They'd been evicted from their home. That moment had that embarrassment and shame branded his soul in such a way now that he's living his life to protect and insulate his family from hardships like that and embarrassment. Guys, we can't control everything, and we can't be everything. I used to live like the servant in Jesus' parable of the three servants. I looked at those who were more talented than I, and I wondered, God, why didn't you make me more talented? Why was I born into my family? Why couldn't I have been born into a family that valued education, that taught me more, that trained me better? I wished I were smarter. I wished I were more talented. But listen, not knowing everything, not being able to control everything, not having all the talent and the gifts, it's just part of what it means to be human. Did you know that human and humility are closely related ideas? Humility is simply embracing what it means to be human. That's why David prayed, Lord, my heart isn't proud. My eyes are not haughty. Humility, this is where the blessed life begins. James wrote this, as the scriptures say, God opposes the proud, but he gives grace, he gives his help to the humble, those who live with limitations. The blessed life, it starts by accepting the limitations of being human. Now here's the second observation. Learn to rest within your limitations. Again, look at what David wrote. This is King David. He said, I became great because I removed my limitations. No. He said, instead, I have calmed and I've quieted myself like a weaned child who no longer cries for its mother's milk. Yes, like a weaned child is my soul within me. Now, notice where the change occurred. All right, get this. David didn't calm his world. David calmed and he quieted himself. What does a baby do when the mother no longer nurses it? It cries. It cries a lot because it's not getting what it thinks it has to have to survive. But David said, I've discovered something better, like a baby. We can live with our limitations. Many of us, though, we're still crying over the things that we want. We want to be smarter, and we cry about it that we're not. We want to be taller, better looking, stronger. We want to be more charismatic. And when our sense of limitation gets triggered, this is where bad things happen. This is where we have the tendency to hide who we really are, or to prove to others that we are that person that we want them to believe that we are. Maturity isn't having or being everything you want. It's learning to quiet your soul when you realize you can't have it. No one can quiet your soul for you. Learning to live with your limitations, it's a choice that each one of us must make. The mature man, it's not the man with the fewest limitations. The mature man is the man who has found peace with his limitations. God will use every limitation in your life to guide you toward that life that He created you to live. Now that brings us to the third insight. Here it is. Number 3, trust God with your limitations. This is where it gets good. Looking at yourself is where you feel the effects of your limitations. Looking to God is where you discover your true purpose and power. When our limitations get exposed, we become anxious. It's where we begin to hide. We get angry. We become controlling. We become critical. We become driven. Suddenly, when we're trying to prove that we're enough instead of resting in God's love. I know, that's how I used to live. But I'm not the only one who lived that way. I see this mindset has affected and infected the entire coaching industry, even Christian coaching. The idea that we humans are enough. I was on a call just yesterday with another identity coach, another Christian identity coach. And I asked this person, I said, when did you win your battle over self-doubt? And they said, oh, I haven't. And this person indicated that we'll always run up against challenges that are bigger and badder than we are. And when you do, you'll simply have to fight through that not enough feeling each time and endure it. I said, well, I've won my battle. I just let it hang in the air for shock effect. They looked at me like I just claimed to be Jesus Christ. They clearly didn't understand how that could be possible. I explained, I treat obstacles and opposition like they're bullies. You know, bullies are only powerful as long as you face them alone. When I run up against something that stands in my way of doing what God's called me to do, I look at the bully and I introduce it to my Father who's standing behind me. He's always right beside me. He's got my back. I shared, I stopped looking at myself and I began looking to God. That's when I won the battle over believing that I wasn't enough. Not because I finally became enough, but because I finally realized that God is enough and He's for me. The other coach said, I've never looked at it that way. You know, most of us haven't. We're affected and we're infected with the natural mindset. We think we have to figure it out. We have to make it happen. But I quieted my soul when I discovered the answer to my limitations wasn't that I was enough. The answer was discovering God is enough. David doesn't tell us to become smarter. He doesn't tell us to become stronger. He doesn't tell us to become limitless. He tells us, put your hope in the Lord now and forever. Maybe today you spent years fighting your limits that God never intended for you to overcome. Maybe you've wished that you had someone else's gifts, someone else's personality, someone else's opportunities, someone else's story. David would tell you, stop fighting what it means to be human. Accept your limitations, quiet your soul, put your hope in the Lord, because peace isn't found when you finally become enough. Peace is found when you finally discover that God is enough. And when God is enough, you finally become free to be the person that He created you to be. Well, thank you so much for listening today. I'm so grateful for each one of you that follow me. I hope you'll take a minute and like what I share here. Consider giving me a 5-star rating. If this helped you, consider sharing with someone else who needs to hear this today. And as always, make sure you check out the links inside the show notes. And until next time, may the Lord help you to live that life that you were born to love.